If they don't respond timely, then it causes a delay. So that's why I usually tell the sellers I'm working with is like, one thing with me, if you work with me, is I respond timely and I'm transparent and I'm educational. So you know that if you text me or email me, usually I'll respond pretty fast within 24 hours. And
when would you do a visit in that 60 days?
yeah, great question. So typically for me, if they accept my LOI, I send my earnest money deposit, and at that point, I'll do my purchase agreement, which is the more official form. So like Oklahoma, it's online for free. It's just a template that I fill out. The first time I did it, you have to read it slowly for like 2-3 hours a couple of times. But after that, you just kind of know what's pretty generic, and you can talk to the title company as well. Like, hey, like, can you help me understand this? But typically at that point, I'm scheduling inspection. So I have to hire an inspection company, and it just depends on their availability. So if they're able to go, like, usually they give me a week lead time. So if I got to get under contract today, maybe next Monday, they can do the inspection. But at that point, you have to coordinate with the seller because they have to give a notice to all the tenants that we're going to do an inspection, right? That they'll go in the units. So I only go on site if I know I have it under contract and I know I'm going to take down the deal. Like, I'm pretty confident I'm taking down the deal. So far, deals that I've gotten under contract in, I've usually closed on those deals. There's only one deal where it was an RV park where I made the offer. They accepted the offer, I had an agreement, but I ended up canceling the contract because the septic wasn't up to code. And they weren't willing to give me the money to bring the septic to code, which was $300,000. So I just told them, hey, you give me $300,000 off, I'll still take down this deal.
Yeah.
But they didn't. So I ended up closing it. And thank God I did, because it was the same owner as my mobile home park, and probably would have lost money on that one too.
Yeah.
But
that was a direct mail. That was a direct to seller mail. And then you were doing all your conversations with them, or did they have a broker?
For that one, it was brought to me by a broker who was managing my current mobile home park.
Okay.
So it wasn't really off market, but it was kind of like a pocket listing. Like I said, I haven't had a good experience with someone's in the middle. Because can you imagine? I tell my broker, who tells your broker, who tells you, Brian, like,
yeah.
It's a completely different message.
100%.
I'd rather just go straight to you, Brian, so you hear it straight from the horse's mouth for me, we build trust.
So I'm dealing with that on so we've 2 single family homes, and we used property managers because I wanted to just get in the game. Like, I wanted to practice getting in the game, continuing to work, and just like letting it be a passive thing and like giving up control of it. And we're dealing with like a plumbing issue. And it's like our project manager talks to the project manager of the vendors, that talks to the technician that goes on site, that writes the quote, and the quote gets marked up twice through 2 subs. And it's not even the markup. Like, the markup is what it is, but like, it's the fact that I can't look at the quote on the freaking plumbing company's letterhead. I now look at it on like copy pasted onto 2 things put into this thing. And I'm like it loses all of the, like, when you're talking to a good tradesman, you feel that conversation. You're like, these are the pros and cons of what's going on and the scale of what we can do. And you then know if it happens again, like, or something related, it's like you're tracking with the logic train that you and them already established, and you can circle around the issue. This telephone game blows that up every time. And so that's for my business that I'm interested in growing, for that in my head right now, is like, I'm looking to take these 2 properties, Southern California, back under self-management and add a small multifamily anywhere in Southern California, and really really take down all of that and build self-management.
Yeah. I mean, the more people in the process, there's more delays, right? It's like, for me, I personally just try to go straight to the source. Like, sometimes, like for my 20 unit, my property manager will give me a quote. Then usually out the first, I was like, well, did you get multiple quotes? And if so, send me the quotes. So usually on the quotes, I do see the letterhead from the plumber. So at that point, I have the number of the plumber. So I'll literally call them at that point. I say, hey, I was given a quote by my property manager. I'm the owner. I'm the guy who pays the bills. So of course they take you more seriously because you're the one who pays. Right? And I'll just say, look, like, what's the problem here? Like, how much does it cost? Like, I have multiple quotes. Like, I want to work with you. Are you able to match this quote over here? Like, I just, like, most problems you can solve within like literally 5 minutes.
Yes.
Like literally, that's it. Like people don't
Yes.
realize that. Like most, yes, it sucks. I have to pay $10,000 to fix a plumbing issue, but like
Yeah.
you can solve that problem in 5 minutes. And it literally just takes like, give me 3 quotes, okay? Like hopefully the one you work with gives you the best quote, right? Because you know their track record, you know them, they
Yeah.
give you a good price, and
How do you, Steve, this is what we talked about on in the long interview that you gave me for my channel. Like, how do you manage your energy? Like, how do you manage your energy and your mindset? Like, while you're working, you're doing all this stuff, dude. You just got married. Like, I don't know. Does that tire you out? Does thinking about having to make that call tire you out with everything else you've got going on in your life? Or,
yeah, that's a great question. And like initially when I was in the thick of it, of like buying my 90 units at one point and doing
mm-hmm,
renovation, I just was so quick to taking action.
mm-hmm,
Like to me, like you said, most things you can solve within 2 to 5 minutes.
mm-hmm.
And if you just make that decision immediately or fast, it removes that mental burden from you. Versus, can you imagine if I had like five decisions I need to make,
Yes.
and I'm letting it linger in my mind for the next 5 days? It
Mm-hmm.
felt like I spent like 8 hours on the thing. When if I just took immediate action, it's like 5 minutes each. That's only 25 minutes. So
Yeah.
that's why I really leverage to like just take quick decisions. And yes, you may make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make a mistake, but as long as you learn from it, it's okay. So that's the trap I fell into recently. Is like I've just been like dwelling on problems all the time. But I'm like, Steven from 3 years ago, this will be done in like 3 minutes,
Yeah.
right? Like in 5 minutes. So like, what changed? And I think what changed is because I don't have as much on my plate as I used to. So
Mm-hmm.
now I can take my time to like mental masturbate
Yeah.
this. But
Yeah. Work
for me,
expands to the time that you give it. It expands to the time that you give
exactly.
it.
Yeah, I was exactly going to say that. So if you only have like 5 minutes to do it, you'll do it in 5 minutes. But if I have 24 hours, it doesn't take me 24 hours. So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm trying to like go back to that mindset where I'm like, well, just make the quick decision like I used to, and move on from there, or ask questions, or if I need to think more or need more information, because the only reason why you're not making a decision is because you lack information. So you have to find that information by asking questions. So that's how I really manage my energy. But like I said, it really depends. Like I try to do it immediately,
Yeah.
and you need to have like quick thinking and action, and like you have to ask questions and get more
It
information.
could also be that you're unsure of yourself though, right? Like one thing why I asked about the like picking up the phone call was like if a broker calls me, this is kind of related. Like if a broker calls me, I want to create a good first impression. But if I'm like mid something else, like I want to work the muscle of like picking up the phone, but it's like has to do with like a trusting myself of like my notes might not be right in front of me. The address isn't really right in front of me. I don't know exactly what they're going to hit me with. It's tough. So it's like I might be the like I'll let it go to voicemail and I call them back kind of thing. When no, like but then that eats up RAM, that eats up mental RAM. That honestly, I probably could have just picked up the phone and just been like, hey, yeah, definitely, like, yeah, hold on, give me 30 seconds while I get this pulled up, and that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, like for me, I usually, if the owner like calls me, I'll just be like, "Oh, hey, bring me up to speed in the property." And why I say that is because I'm trying to buy time for me to pull up my laptop and
Yeah,
search the property address and prop stream to get more information about it, like what's the loan, who owns it, what's the debt on
yeah,
it, and all
yeah,
that. So like you're just trying to buy time. I mean, and it's okay to say like, "Oh, hey, like, is it okay if I pull up my notes on this property real quick?" As long as it's just being honest and transparent. Like I'm not like when I sent out 300 mailers, I don't remember like I don't know who's gonna
right,
call me, right?
right,
Or if I have like 5 offers out, I'll just be honest. I'm like, sorry, I submitted 5 offers in the past like week. Can you remind
right.
me like which property
Remind
this
me. Yeah,
is?
totally.
So it's okay to do that. But like you said, it's just the taking that quick action. And now, like I said, I just like pause. Like, what's killing me and causing me pause right now is you just listen to my. I'm hitting multiple life events right now, right?
Yep,
Just got married,
yep,
probably the
yep,
next 2 years kids are on the horizon, and that's causing
yep,
me to pause because like before I just was like a free range, like, hey, just do whatever I want to buy
yeah,
multifamily, go buy
yeah,
multifamily. But now I'm like, well, how's this going to affect me? How's this going to affect my family? How's this going to affect my future kids? So that's what's giving me pause now, is I cannot make decisions as fast as I used to, right? But now I kind of accepted that, like, okay, well, I can still make a fast decision, but I just know that, I can't be as aggressive. Like I have to take down a really good deal. Like it can't just be
yeah,
like an okay deal. It has to be like a really good deal, and just be okay with that. Like maybe I can't buy a deal as fast. Like maybe you can surpass me in unit count, Brian, because I'm too slow. But, I just know that if I get one
yeah,
more deal, like that's all it takes. Like I
yeah,
literally can get one more deal, like my 26 unit.
Yeah.
I literally never probably thought about another deal ever again. I could probably just
Yeah.
sell some properties, pay off all my properties, and own a portfolio free and clear that cash flows more than my W-2
Yeah.
with no debt on it. So it's just like knowing that, why kill myself? And why beat myself up?
100%. 100%. I'm talking on a panel at the upcoming Bitcoin conference about fire, which that'll be pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I want to bring on like this guy I kind of like networked with when we started around the same time, and he just like
Yeah.
hit fire like recently.
Yeah.
So I want to like bring him on to like share the journey. But
Yeah.
it's quite interesting. Like the more I learned about fire with real estate specifically, because most fire is they're just talking about index funds, right? Like your Vanguard index funds.
That's exactly what this upcoming panel is about. Is that fire, at least the Reddit and stuff, doesn't really like Bitcoin either.
Correct. I was gonna segue
Yeah.
to that. Like for
No,
you,
that's
you're talking about
exactly kind of what the panel is about. And so I wanted to ask you because that's what I've never been deep in those subreddits or really that movement. But I've seen your videos about it, so I wasn't really sure how deep in the movement you are.
yeah, like honestly, for me, I'm 35 today. Realistically, I could probably fire at 40, and fat fire. So like fat fire is like basically you're living. I'm maintaining my same pharmacist income lifestyle, but not having to work. So for me, I only want to fire if it's fat fire or like a good healthy. Like I can still do what I want to do. I
Yep.
don't want to lean fi. I don't want to like coast fi.
Yep.
I want to like
Yep.
live a good life still, and I don't mind working a little bit extra for that.
Mhm.
But most, like if you listen to Bigger Pockets, most of the fire is based on the 4% rule of an index fund portfolio.
Mhm.
My problem is, so most people want like the $3 million, portfolio. You live off the 4% rule. What's that? 120K. So it's about, 10K a month,
Mhm.
right? Like living off of that. So my goal was about 20K a month, which is
Mhm.
roughly 2 pharmacist salaries almost.
Mhm.
So that's about two. So if you double, that's about $6 million of net worth that you need.
Yeah.
But the problem with real estate investors is that we're asset rich, cash poor.
Mhm.
So yes, in equities, I could be worth $6 million, but the problem is I have to sell everything and then
Mhm.
dump that into index funds, pay taxes, pay depreciation recapture. And let's just say if I have 6 million, I have 5 million after all that. Then I dump that into the index fund and I can live off that 4% rule, which is $200,000.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one path of fire. If let's say you buy a bunch of real estate, you force like, how else could I make like $6 million in like 12 years? Real estate or business is the only way I can think of.
Right.
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 That quick,
Right.
that fast. Right. If you can get an amazing business, make a lot of money, or you just do real estate.
Mhm.
For me, business, not for me currently.
Mhm.
Real estate, it takes a little bit longer, but it's
Yeah.
more guaranteed and it's kind of dummy proof, in my opinion.
Yes. Yes.
So, like I said, I built up a lot, but like I said, I can't retire my portfolio because my portfolio right now, yes, it might be worth 6 million, but my cash flow is maybe about $8,000 a month on average to 10,000. But the big but is, well, if I have to replace a roof, that's $30,000. I just lost 4 months of my positive cash flow. So,
Yeah.
that's a stressful retirement, in my opinion, right? So, once I kind of realized that if you want to fat fire real estate, I've kind of pivoted, and you have to take some debt off the table.
Mhm.
So you have to build up a huge portfolio like what I did and then sell some and then use that to take debt off the table. So what debt do you take off the table? For me, it would be
Yeah.
my primary residence because imagine my loan in my house is about $8,000 a month all in, property tax, insurance, all that stuff. Mortgage is
Mhm.
6,000. That's already a $3 million portfolio for Fat Fire, 4%
Yeah.
rule, right? But if I can
Yeah.
wipe off this from 8,000 to $2,000 a month, which is just property tax, insurance, HOA,
Yep.
if my my nest number at the end could be a lot lower,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm not worried about this expense, and then I'm not stressed because my living expense is only $2,000 a month. So
Yeah.
now
The good thing about real estate over index funds, though, is you always have control of the NOI lever.
yes,
Index funds, I don't understand. Index fund, I've never gotten into the whole dividend stock thing. That's not guaranteed either. It's not guaranteed that the companies pay dividends. It's not guaranteed that the dividend goes up. Whereas real estate, paying down the mortgage increases the equity, increases your ability to get loans. So it's better than fat fire because you're literally still increasing income without working.
yeah, that's a good point. But I guess the only downside is like, yeah, it's not as liquid, right? Like if your cash flow is rough that month, that's why like for me, I would want a pretty heavy cash reserve with real estate, and then
It's still everything you said about your primary residence and wiping that off still completely makes sense. It's
yeah,
still just from an income perspective, I think commercial, I think multifamily still beats dividend stocks for me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, definitely agree on that. And like you said, like for me, what's weird is because I'm in California, so like I have a lot of my single family homes have high equity but no cash flow.
Mhm.
So like for me, it's easy to be like, I just sell this, crack open the piggy bank, take the equity to pay off this house. I can crack another house that has a lot of equity and literally pay off my two apartments. And now I just wiped off 6,000 of my mortgage here. And if I wiped off two of my other apartments, I'm paying $2,600 for one and 2,000 for the other. That increases my cash flow by about almost 5,000 bucks a month.
Yeah.
Not only am I lowering my expense by 6,000, I just increased my cash flow by 5,000. So
Yes.
now you're comfortable to fat fire at that point.
Yes. Well, and you know how you said, like, on your primary, you can always then open up a big HELOC,
Yes.
and that's your liquidity to like do things with. Have you done calls about like portfolio line of credit yet?
Yeah.
Or like
So
what's the HELOC equivalent on the apartment buildings?
yeah. So for my index funds, I do Charles Schwab, and they do have a pledge asset line of credit on that. Or rental properties, like investment properties, it is hard to get a HELOC. Being honest, unless you go down like the private money routes, so private money lenders, where will take a second lien position. But for me, I only want to do that if it's a temporary project, right? Let's just say let's say I had my primary residence paid off and I have a HELOC on it. I would only use that money if I knew that I need a down payment for a bridged loan where I'm going to fix it up, renovate it, force NOI, do a cash out refinance, pull my money out, pay off my HELOC, and then pay off whatever money I put and got that
Mhm.
deal kind of quote unquote free.
Yeah.
So for me, because I know at that point, if I have a HELOC, now my expenses went up. So now I have to live a little bit leaner during that period versus when I don't have it. So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, to your point, the traditional fire is like mostly index funds. But for real estate, I think if they make some pivots in terms of like paying off your primary and then maybe taking some debt off the table strategically so
Yeah.
that you can make sure your cash flows. Because like if I wipe off my mortgage and my apartments, I'm guaranteed $5,000 more in income because it's not going to my loan, and that 5,000 is enough to cover my living expense here of 2,000. So I still have $3,000 to cover health insurance and like car insurance and like bills. So I know I'm covered in that sense. And now I'm not stressed where if I'm averaging 8,000 bucks a month, or let's say 10,000 bucks a month, if one month it's only 4,000 of capex, I'm not worried because my expense is so low. So like for me, my ballpark that I've been kind of aiming for is you want to be able to live off 25% of your real estate cash flow because it's so variable. And this is what I heard from people who are more experienced, fired from real estate. So if you're cash flowing 10K, you can comfortably live off, let's say 2,500 or to 3,000. So knowing that, I want to keep my expenses as low as possible. And my biggest expense is my primary residence. My other stuff like travel, food, you can tweak that a little bit easier. But like I said, and for me, I'm kind of baking in a little bit conservative because, kids, I don't know, kids are expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I want a big cash reserve. And that's what's nice about index funds too, is it's almost like my second cash reserve in a sense, where I could just
Yep.
pull it in a more liquid fashion. So, that's kind of one thing that I've been thinking. But it's hard. Like it's still a hard leap for me to like rewire my mindset to sell because I'm so wired to like leverage, right? Like
Mhm.
it's more natural for me to be like, hey, I'm gonna cash out refinance my 26 unit, pull out all my money, my down payment, money on top, and I'll go buy another one. That's the natural side of me. But the unnatural side of me is to be like, I want to sell and then use it to pay off debt.
Well, yeah. No, and I think the building relationships with brokers via the on market thing is interesting. I think that passively honestly will hit and can hit the same way that direct to seller mail can hit.
Yeah, it's like a two-pronged approach, right? Like right now, this costs me no money. Like it's just
Right.
costing me like maybe 5 minutes of my time, right? Like between underwriting, contacting them, and like you said, it may not pay off today, but maybe in 2 years, one of these contacts that I texted like 2 years ago may bring me a deal. They maybe bring me a 30-unit apartment complex, which is a good, amazing deal, and that's all I need to be close to 100 units and to really cash flow. So like, it's same with direct mail. Like I have people call me from like letters I sent 3 years ago because they got the letter, they threw it in a cupboard, and they're
Yep.
cleaning out their cupboard. I'm like, oh hey, like this guy, like he sent me a letter. Like maybe I am interested in selling.
That's
So
awesome.
that's really what it is. But I know we're kind of approaching on time, but curious to hear your thoughts about kind of preview. What do you envision Fire? using cryptocurrency, because you kind of did
Yeah.
convince me to. I did open a Fidelity account, Roth
Awesome.
IRA to do the Bitcoin,
Awesome.
like the
Yeah.
FBTC, to
Yep.
like just dollar cost average slowly. Like I'm not going to put all my net worth in Bitcoin,
Yep.
but like add some exposure to it.
This is what I'm going to say in Vegas. And like, I was not embraced by FIRE and by Dave Ramsey and by financial advisors and by the whole crowd for a lot of years. That's true. What's also true is that Bitcoin influencers didn't really lean in to talking about financial freedom either. There's the way that you like dividend stock guys will like come on the live stream and they'll be like, this is the most awesome thing ever. Like, you have to do this. Like, this is awesome. Real estate people, same thing. They're just like, real estate is the way to financial freedom. Like, all this stuff, they'll come on and like talk about it. Bitcoin, it like is weird and wonky. Like, it's only 16 years old. It came like out of just a really interesting history. And then because all the other cryptocurrencies created their own kind of thoughts and created their own brand that people now associate with it, that has caused a lot of mixed reactions, like, and feelings. And so what I've been trying to do on the internet is kind of come back with like, look, like Bitcoin, what a real estate person or what a dividend stock person needs to understand, what an index fund person needs to understand is like, look, there is a difference between Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency. I'm not going to say the other cryptocurrency is bad or good. I'm just going to say other cryptocurrency requires better and different underwriting. Like, you can't lump them into the same things. You have to go and choose very carefully your thesis on a lot of that. Bitcoin has a thesis that is developing with lots of sophisticated people, like retail and sophisticated people over the entire world. The Bitcoin ETFs were the most successful ETF launches in the history of ETFs. Bitcoin itself is the best performing asset of the last like 10 years, just straight looking like at the numbers of it. And then what I think real estate people understand is real estate people understand the way that fiat money lending works and the way that just money and credit systems and the 10-year treasury and just kind of macro. That's part of what draws me to real estate, is the way that real estate investors pretty well understand macroeconomics. And both of them are built on that same fundamentals that like fiat money is not a good store of value. Like, it's the same reason why you buy index funds, the same reason why you buy real estate, the same reason why real estate interior square footage in California continues to climb faster than salaries, is because fiat money, dollars, it's not good at what we need it to do. Just the cost of things. Inflation is like wrecks people. Inflation wrecks people that don't have savings. Bitcoin is a different way of doing money than that. And so that's what I would say to people is like, you have these numbers of like the $3 million at the 4% rule, 120 like K a year. That's awesome. Like, that's really great Excel math. Like, what happens when like groceries continue to go up? How does that count into your index fund math? You know, like that kind of stuff. And so that's where Bitcoin fits for me. And that's why, from my perspective, it was the first way that Shrin and I, my wife and I, like built our backstop, not with index funds, not with dollars in a high yield savings account, like with Bitcoin. And that's the way when we were like renting our 1-bedroom apartments and like working on increasing our salaries, that's what we were doing, is we were doing our $100 at a time, $500 at a time, like into Bitcoin, into Bitcoin, into Bitcoin. And that's what gave us this backstop that then when we went to buy like our first townhome, we were already used to saving a large percent of our income into this harder asset. So we just talk about taking action. Like we just paused stacking Bitcoin and just started stacking a down payment, and also educated ourselves on that you only need 5% down, and learning how to calculate your own DTI, and how to learn that like, oh, if I switch jobs and get a better salary, my DTI now goes down, which I'm able to like get this thing. And so that's where Bitcoin fits for me. And I just think it's both. The FIRE community and the kind of classic personal finance community needs to understand the Bitcoin ETFs were the most successful ETF launch in history, like of ETFs. And the Bitcoin community needs to understand that like we have to talk better about the optimism. We have to talk better about the optimism. It's not just a doomsday thing. I don't super love the like digital gold analogy. Like I don't identify with that. Bitcoin works in a good economy, it works in a bad economy. Again, Bitcoin kind of makes me agnostic to the whole concept of a good economy or a bad economy because I'm removing myself from all my eggs in the fiat basket. Like I don't care what Jerome Powell does. I don't like I'm not fully in that world anymore. Like I'm betting on a new way of doing money.
Yeah, that is unconventional. Like you said, you listen to Bigger Pockets Money. And what's kind of cool too is like you've been doing this for like, 10 years plus. And what I tell everyone is like if you do anything for 10 years plus, you can make a killing
Yeah.
from it. Right. So like if you do index funds for 10 years, well, that was probably 30 years plus. And real estate for 10 years plus, cryptocurrency for 10 years plus, that's when you start to master your craft. But no, that is really insightful. So actually hopefully they record that session so I can
absolutely
hear more from that. But any kind of last closing thoughts, Brian, before we end?
That's it, man. Thanks for what you're doing. Talking about commercial and multifamily. Yeah, if people want to hear more about Bitcoin, in my YouTube, my Twitter handle, Brain Harrington.
All right, Brian. Now, thanks so much for hopping on. And it was a great conversation and love to do it again.
Perfect. See you guys.